Heartwarming story revealed, girl's amazing sacrifice of $20 million to save her dying loved one. Emily Dawson had always been the rock of her family. At just 17, the small-town girl carried the weight of her family's struggles on her shoulders, like a superhero in worn sneakers. The pandemic had shuttered their beloved diner, a place that thrived on the smells of fresh pies and bacon sizzling on the griddle. They were holding on by a thread, when life dealt them another blow. Her grandfather, World War II veteran with stories that could fill books, fell ill with a rare disease. The news hit them like a freight train. Emily's heart raced as she listened to the doctor, who delivered grim updates with a compassion barely masking the realities of their situation. Insurance won't cover it, Emily. Each word felt like a punch to the gut. Bills piled up like winter snow. How could they fight back? Emily's love for her grandfather bloomed like the spring flowers she used to pick for him. Memories flooded in Sunday afternoons in the kitchen with her grandmother, flour dusting their noses as they baked cupcakes. It was there, amidst the laughter and warmth, that Emily discovered the magic of baking. She could make the most delicious treats, but could they save her grandfather? She had to try. Determined, she rallied her neighbors and friends, sharing her vision of a community bakery. "Let us do this together," she said, her voice lifting the spirits of those around her. The bakery opened its doors, and with each cupcake sold, a new hope flickered. Some doubted, others cheered, but Emily pressed on. This was her chance to honor her grandfather's sacrifices, to turn love into action. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The bakery flourished, blossoming into a local hub of inspiration. Yet, the road was not easy. As Emily witnessed her community's own struggles, she felt the pressure tighten around her heart. The smiles turned into whispers of doubt. She faced economic prejudices and the harsh realities of a town that had seen better days. People didn't seem to trust a teenager's ambition, and she wrestled with feelings of unfairness and desperation. One day, during a particularly busy rush, her grandfather visited, a spark in his eyes, even as he fought the exhaustion brought on by his illness. "You're doing it, Emily," he told her, pride woven into every word. But what could she do amidst the growing storm of economic strife? Just when it seemed everything was slipping from her grasp, unexpected complications hit, leading to confrontations that made her question not just her dreams but her beliefs about success and sacrifice in a town teetering on the edge. With each step forward, Emily found herself standing at the crossroads of hope and doubt. How could she save her grandfather while also uplifting her community? The weight felt heavier than ever, and resolve mixed with uncertainty. Dragging her weary body to bed each night, she knew the answer was somewhere hidden within her efforts, or maybe, buried in the hearts of the people around her. As the town braced against the harsh realities of their struggles, Emily was ready to face the challenge. Wouldn't her efforts forge a bond strong enough to unite them all? The journey was just beginning, filled with twists that could change everything forever. The sun peeked over the horizon, casting a warm glow on Emily's bakery. The smell of fresh baked goods wafted into the streets, promising a new day filled with hope. People began to gather outside, some stopping to chat, while others lingered, unsure but curious. Emily worked diligently behind the counter, her hands moving deftly as she decorated cupcakes with swirls of pastel frosting. Just as she finished, Mrs. Thompson, a regular with a penchant for chocolate chip cookies, entered, her usual smile replaced by a frown. "Emily," she said, her tone heavy. "Have you heard about the layoffs at the factory?" Emily's heart sank. The community had already been through so much. The factory was one of the last remaining employers in town. A wave of dread washed over her. "No, I hadn't how many people are affected?" Almost everyone, Mrs. Thompson replied. They're scaling back due to the economy. I'm worried about my family, we're barely scraping by as it is. The words felt like a knife twisting in Emily's gut. She had opened the bakery as a lifeline for her grandfather, but she couldn't ignore the broader suffering in her community. Each cupcake they sold wasn't just a treat, it was a chance for someone to keep their lights on, to put food on the table. I'll figure something out, Emily said, her voice shaky, but determination seeped through the cracks of her fear. She couldn't let Mrs. Thompson down or any of the other families hanging in the balance. That evening, after closing the shop, Emily decided to call a community meeting at the bakery. If the town was in trouble, maybe they could think of solutions together. News spread quickly, and as the sun began to set, faces both familiar and new filled the small space. Thank you all for coming, Emily began, trying to steady her nerves. I know things are getting too tough for a lot of us. She took a breath, glancing at her grandfather's old photograph hanging on the wall. But I believe we can help each other. As she sketched out her ideas, baking workshops to raise money, offering free community meals to those affected, the room buzzed with discussion. Some were skeptical, but as Emily spoke from the heart about her grandfather's legacy and their shared struggles, a shift began. People started to see her not just as a girl with a bakery, but as a leader who believed in their strength as a community. Let's call it Bakes for Hope, suggested Mr. Johnson, the town's retired teacher, his voice cracking with emotion. We'll raise money together, one cupcake at a time. Yes. That was it. Emily's heart raced with excitement. Hope flickered to life. They could unite to face challenges, and each sale could help not just her grandfather, but every family struggling to get by. The meeting ended on a hopeful note, and as the last patron departed, Emily felt a warmth spread within her. The bakery could be more than a place to sell cupcakes, it could be a lifeline for her entire town. As she began cleaning up, her grandfather shuffled in quietly. He took a seat at the counter, and his eyes sparkled. She could see the pride in them. She shared the idea of Bakes for Hope, and to her delight, he smiled warmly. You've got this, kiddo. It's your time to shine. But as her excitement bubbled over, her phone buzzed with a notification that shook her to the core. The message flashed across the screen like a warning bell, in critical condition. Only option is an expensive treatment. Emily's heart thudded heavily against her chest as she read the words. Reality crashed in like a wave, crashing her joy into an ocean of uncertainty. How could she tackle this new complication while still juggling her plans for the community? With a resolute determination but a heart heavy with fear, Emily knew she had to act fast. The time for love and action was now, but could she find a way to save her grandfather and uplift the community all at once? Tomorrow would bring choices, ones that could change everything forever. What would the cost of her love be? The morning sun was still low in the sky when Emily opened her bakery for the day. The gentle hustle of preparing dough and mixing batters felt like her only escape from the weight pressing down on her chest. The notion that her grandfather needed an expensive treatment lingered like a shadow, creeping into every thought she had. Customers trickled in with smiles plastered on their faces, but Emily's mind was elsewhere. As she carefully pulled trays of cookies from the oven, their sweet aroma filled the air, but it couldn't mask the anxiety churning inside her. One by one, familiar faces arrived: Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Johnson, kids from the neighborhood, all eager to lend support. They brought hope, yet all Emily could think about was the upcoming expense and the news about the factory. Good morning, Emily, shouted a cheerful voice. It was Billy, a 10-year-old with a passion for baking. He rushed to the counter, his bright eyes twinkling with excitement. Are we starting Bakes for Hope today? Yes, Emily replied, trying to match his enthusiasm. We'll be setting up a little table outside. She hoped the energy of the community would fuel her own. I want you to be a part of it. Can you help me with the signs? Absolutely. Billy exclaimed, bouncing in place. His zeal pulled a small smile from Emily. She watched him run off to grab markers and paper, feeling a slight lift in her spirit. As people started to gather outside, Emily joined Billy in creating signs. Each message of encouragement stirred a little more optimism in her heart: cupcakes for a cause, together we bake for a brighter tomorrow. With every stroke of the marker, she could feel the familiar flicker of hope reigniting within her. The first customers approached, curious about the table set up outside. Emily explained their mission, and she noted how the community reacted, faces lit up with understanding. They weren't just buying cupcakes, they were investing in a collective dream. The laughter and chatter around her felt comforting, like a warm embrace. But in the back of her mind, the reality of the looming medical bills remained. Each cupcake bought was a step closer to saving her grandfather, yet it wasn't nearly enough. Even as they raised funds for the community, Emily felt burdened by the dual challenge facing her family's crisis and the financial strain on everyone else in town. Hours flew by, and soon the table overflowed with customers, both buying cupcakes and donating. Emily's heart swelled with joy at the sense of unity surrounding her, but she couldn't help but feel the mounting pressure of her grandfather's health. She leaned against the counter as people celebrated with cupcakes in hand, a smile plastered on her face while doubt gnawed at her inside. Finally, as the sun began to set, the day wound down. Exhausted but fulfilled, Emily counted the coins and bills in the donation jar, her heart racing with every dollar added. The little contributions added to a growing total, yet it still felt miles away from the treatment her grandfather needed. She could almost hear his voice encouraging her, but it was muffled by her growing fear. "Emily!" Billy called out, racing over with a package in his hands. "This came for you." She unwrapped it carefully to find a collection of baking supplies and a note from her old friend Lily, who had moved away. It was a gesture of love filled with wishes for success. As she read the heartfelt words blinking back tears, she realized something unexpected: it wasn't just about raising funds. It was a testament to the community's spirit. But what surprised her most was her revelation that night about the sacrifices people were willing to make for one another. With renewed tenacity, she made a decision. She wouldn't only raise money for her grandfather, she would turn this into an initiative that served the town's needs too. There had to be a way to weave it all together, to help everyone without sacrificing her grandfather's treatment. That night, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, a thought flickered in her mind: could the community do more together? Tomorrow would unveil a new idea, one that could bridge her two worlds: her grandfather's health and the well-being of the town. Emily closed her eyes, breathing deeply, wondering how far hope could stretch. Would they answer the call? The next morning light streamed through the bakery window, casting soft shadows across the countertops. Emily woke up with a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in days. Today, she would share her new idea with the community. The weight on her shoulders remained, but a spark of determination ignited within her. As she prepared her usual morning batches, her mind raced with possibilities. What if everyone worked together, not just for her grandfather but for each other's struggles? Each cupcake sold could represent stories, the stories of families coming together, of neighbors supporting one another. When the doors swung open, the scent of fresh bread greeted the first customers. As familiar faces filed in, Emily's heart warmed at the sight of Billy, who bounced eagerly towards her, arms filled with colorful signs he had created overnight. "Look, Emily! I made these," he exclaimed, displaying the artwork with pride. They depicted not just cupcakes but fruits, pies, and even local sources of ingredients. Emily grinned at his passion, realizing this was the energy she needed. "These are fantastic, Billy. Let us set them up." As they arranged the signs, Emily gathered the courage to speak, her voice steady and clear. "I want to invite everyone to join me in something special." The crowd listened attentively, muffin crumbs forgotten as she announced her plan for Bakes for Community. It could be a monthly event. All proceeds would be split between local causes and supporting families struggling like hers. "What do you think?" she asked after sharing her vision, holding her breath as she awaited feedback. Mrs. Thompson was the first to applaud. Count me in. You can use my garden for fresh veggies. Mr. Johnson chimed in with a hearty laugh, and my grill for barbecues. The room erupted into discussions, cheerful voices filled with excitement. Ideas floated around like confetti, themed bake sales, cooking classes for kids, workshops for adults. Emily felt a full-blown rush of hope wash over her as she realized their enthusiasm was contagious. But as conversations buzzed, Emily's mind raced back to her grandfather. Would it be enough? The medical bills felt like mountains, daunting and insurmountable. Billy tugged on her apron, breaking her thoughts. Emily, do you think we can make a difference? His innocent question struck a chord deep in her heart. It echoed the doubt she faced daily, yet there was something undeniably uplifting in his eyes. Yes, I do, she said, with newfound conviction. The rest of the day flew by, fostering connections among locals with shared goals. Emily's small bakery transformed into a hub of activity and creativity. Laughter filled the space, pastries rose in the ovens, the air was thick with promise. As evening descended, Emily felt lighter, but the lingering worry for her grandfather still pressed on her heart. She gathered the last of the donations from Bakes for Hope and counted the money again. Each dollar represented love, hope, and effort, yet it still wasn't what she needed. With a sigh, she pocketed the bills when a sudden thought struck her. What if she could reach more people beyond the community? What if they could spread their story further? That night, Emily sat in bed with her laptop, the glow of the screen illuminating her face. Her fingers danced over the keys as she drafted a heartfelt message for social media. It was time to take a leap and invite the wider world to join their cause. As she hit post, a rush of nerves washed over her. Would they respond? Would anyone care? Tomorrow, she would find out. The thought lingered with her as sleep softly pulled her under. The question burned brightly in her chest: would help come from places she never expected? The following day broke with a gentle warmth, but Emily felt the chill of uncertainty creeping back into her thoughts. The sunlight streamed through the bakery window, yet she found herself tapping her fingers on the counter, waiting for the rush of notifications from the online world. Was her heartfelt message reaching anyone? As customers trickled in, the sweet scent of baked goods enveloped the room. Emily greeted them with smiles, but she couldn't shake the feeling that, despite the buzz of the past day, something big was still missing. She was still clinging to the hope that more would come. A wider community needed to rally around her grandfather's battle. Billy bounded through the door, his enthusiasm as contagious as the morning's warmth. Emily. Did you see? He chirped, waving his tablet in the air. A bunch of people liked your post. And some even shared it. Emily's heart leaped. Really? Yeah. Look. He turned the screen to her, showing a flood of comments. There are ideas for bake sales from out of town. Someone even wants to do a half marathon for us. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The realization hit her: they were igniting something bigger than cupcakes and cookies. They were sparking a movement. What do we do next? Billy's eyes were bright, filled with excitement. Let us get the community involved with fresh ideas. We need to leverage this momentum, Emily replied, a new sense of urgency fueling her. We could set up a community board, a place where people can pitch in their suggestions or volunteer to help. Let us make a real plan. Billy's nod was firm. I'll help. We can do it after school. As the day progressed, Emily felt her heart lighten for the first time in weeks. Each customer that walked in seemed more like a partner in their growing mission. She could almost envision the busy day ahead when the bakery would welcome new faces who shared their vision. With energy buzzing around her, she felt alive, fueled both by hope and the kindness of strangers. Later that evening, Emily was still buzzing from the excitement when her phone buzzed with a notification. A direct message popped up on her screen. It was from a local influencer who had shared her post with hundreds of thousands of followers. Count me in. I want to be part of this cause. I have a platform, and I can help reach more people. Tears filled Emily's eyes. This was what she needed. This was the push to build the kind of support network that could save her grandfather and fix what was broken. Emily. Billy burst into the kitchen, breathless. Can we do? Of course. She replied, grabbing him into an embrace. We're going to make this work. Everyone will see how strong we can be together. That night, she lay in bed, a mix of anticipation and dread swirling in her heart. Would this be enough? Would they really be able to harness this newfound energy to solve their problems? Her thoughts drifted, unbidden, toward her grandfather's fight. What if the outpouring of generosity didn't come fast enough? Anxiety seeped into her excitement, a whisper of doubt. But it was too late to turn back now. Tomorrow would bring new opportunities. And with each new idea shared, maybe they could draw even more support. She wouldn't let fear paralyze them. As sleep caught hold of her, one thought lingered: what if the world's kindness was about to change everything she believed? Would she be ready to embrace it? Morning light spilled into the bakery, painting the floor in golden hues. Emily woke with renewed energy, her brow furrowed slightly with determination. Today was the day they would take their first big step forward. After a quick breakfast, she slipped into her favorite apron and opened the shop. Billy arrived bursting with ideas, his eyes twinkling with excitement. Emily. I talked to my mom last night, and she has a friend at the gym who does fundraising events. She said she'd help us organize one. Emily's heart pounded. That's perfect. What if we do a bake sale alongside it? We can showcase our treats and tell everyone why we're doing this. Totally. Billy agreed, his enthusiasm infectious. We could make flyers and post them around town. As they worked together, Emily felt a bubbling sense of hope flare up inside her. For the first time since the initial news about her grandfather, she felt like she was in control. They tackled the tasks with focused determination, sketching ideas and laughing as frosting ended up on their noses. Throughout the morning, customers trickled in, their faces lively with the talk of community efforts. Emily hopped from the counter to greet them, sharing her mission. A mother with her toddler chimed in, "Count me in. I can bake cupcakes." An elderly gentleman at the corner table raised his hand, "I can help with advertising. I own the local newspaper." Each interaction was a reminder of the power of connection. As the din of conversation filled the bakery, it felt different, not just the hum of business, but the thrum of solidarity. Emily imagined them banding together, side by side, for a common cause. Later, as they brainstormed flyer designs, her phone buzzed again. A follow-up message from the influencer popped up, along with a tag post, a vibrant snapshot of their bakery. Help support Emily's mission. Let us rally. Emily gasped in disbelief. Her heart swelled as she watched the likes and comments soar, the joy of it almost too much to bear. This was not just local anymore, it felt like an outpouring of hope crashing toward them like waves at the shore. "Look at this, Billy!" she shouted, pulling him over. They stared, wide-eyed at the post lighting up their screens. "This is it. Our dreams are beginning to take shape. Let us double down," Billy suggested. "We can make stickers and t-shirts. Spread the word. Let's let everyone know we're on a mission." Emily laughed at the thought, but deep down, she knew they could. That night, she sat on her bedroom floor, surrounded by stickers, scissors, and vibrant paper. As she cut and folded, a sense of purpose overwhelmed her. But as excitement buzzed through her like electricity, a deeper fear nagged at the back of her mind. What if they couldn't raise enough money? What if her grandfather needed help sooner than they could provide? Would their efforts ever be enough? That fear haunted her, creeping in at the edges of every happy thought. Was she putting too much pressure on herself, on the community? Or was this the very thing that would help lift them all during this dark season? With a determined breath, she focused on the task ahead, drowning out the doubts. Tomorrow, they would spread their message farther than before. They would reach for every corner of the town. They would turn every moment into action. Emily closed her eyes, envisioning all the smiling faces that would soon gather, fueled by hope and the scent of freshly baked goods. And she knew one thing for sure, they were about to change more than just her grandfather's fate. But as she finally drifted off to sleep, one question lingered in the stillness of her heart: when the moment came to face the biggest challenge yet, would she have the strength to follow through? The sun peeked through Emily's window, filling her room with a soft, warm glow. She woke with a renewed sense of purpose, a smile creeping onto her face as she remembered the progress they had made. Today, they would dive headfirst into the hustle of organizing their community fundraiser. She threw on her favorite denim jacket, the fabric familiar against her skin, and took a moment to breathe in the scent of fresh bread still lingering from yesterday. At the bakery, Billy was already waiting, juggling a stack of colorful flyers. "Emily. Check this out," he said, excitement spilling over. "I got them printed. We can start posting them around town right after breakfast." They quickly scarfed down some pastries before heading outside, armed with tape and an unbreakable sense of hope. The town square was alive, with laughter and chatter echoing from families enjoying the sun. Emily felt her heart race with possibility. They were a part of something bigger today. "Let's start with the bulletin board." Billy pointed, and they rushed over. As they decorated the board with their handmade flyers, Emily caught the gaze of Mrs. Jenkins, the librarian. The older woman had always been a fixture in the community, known for her stories and wisdom. "Baking for a cause?" Mrs. Jenkins approached, her eyes twinkling with delight. "What can I do to help?" "Join us. We need volunteers for the bake sale, and we love some of your famous blueberry pies." Billy chimed in, a grin splitting his face. "Consider it done." Mrs. Jenkins clapped her hands together. "I'll bring a dozen for you." As they continued their quest, more townsfolk joined in. Each person brought a piece of light and enthusiasm. A teenager offered to design more social media graphics, a group of college students pledged to help set up, while a pair of local musicians offered to play live music at the event. Each word of encouragement wrapped around Emily like a warm embrace. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, and Emily felt her energy begin to wane. But there was no room for fatigue, they still had last-minute flyers to distribute. "Just one more round." She looked to Billy, her resolve solid. "Absolutely. Let us hit the coffee shop next," he said, shaking off the exhaustion that threatened to settle in. Together, they stepped into the comforting aroma of roasted coffee and baked treats. The shop was bustling, and as soon as Emily and Billy mentioned their fundraiser, a wave of eager volunteers gathered around their table. The warmth radiated between them, almost like the steam wafting from the freshly brewed coffee. They shared their mission, hands waving as they spoke. The room felt charged, alive with expectation. Emily poured her heart into her words. "Every cupcake, every pie brings us one step closer to helping my grandfather. It's more than just baking, it's about coming together, making a difference. Let us bake until we're out of flour." One customer shouted, and laughter exploded around them. When they finished handing out flyers, Emily stepped outside, leaning against the wall, her heart soaring. "Did you feel that, Billy? They believe in us. They believe in our dream." He nodded fervently, almost breathless. "This isn't just about your grandfather anymore. It's about our community." But as night began to cloak the town, doubt flickered in the corners of Emily's mind. What if it wasn't enough? They had rallied so many, but what if it all fell short? Brushing the thought aside, she took a deep breath, letting the cool evening air calm her. Tomorrow would be the first step of many. Would they reach the hearts of everyone? Just as she turned to head home, her phone buzzed again. A new message and a familiar name appeared. Emily's heart raced. It was the influencer again. She quickly opened the message, her pulse quickening at the proposed challenge. How would it test everything they had built? And more importantly, what would they be willing to risk to meet it? Emily sat on her bed, heart hammering. The message flashed on her screen, "I'm ready to help, but let us raise the stakes. How about a baking challenge? Winner gets double the social media exposure for your fundraiser. Are you game?" She could barely process the words. This was a real opportunity to amplify their cause. But the pressure loomed heavily. What if they failed? What if their baked goods couldn't compete? Billy's voice suddenly broke through her thoughts. "Hey, you alright?" Just reading something from the influencer," she replied, forcing a smile despite the gnawing anxiety rising in her chest. "What's the scoop?" He leaned closer, curiosity shining in his eyes. She hesitated but ultimately shared the challenge. Billy's eyes lit up. This could be huge. We can really get the word out. But, what if we don't win? The question hung in the air, thick and heavy. Emily bit her lip, wrestling with doubt. "Then we figure it out. We're doing this for my grandfather, and we have to give it everything. All right. Let us brainstorm how to crush this." Billy exclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious. But deep inside, a flicker of doubt still clung to her. As they talked late into the night, the pressure transformed. Emily envisioned pies that jumped off the counter and cakes that twinkled like stars. Each idea fueled her excitement, pushing the worry further back. They sketched new recipes, combining flavors they loved: cinnamon and apple for warmth, chocolate and peppermint for a fresh twist. Morning came too soon, the sunlight sparking joy in the air. Emily gathered her supplies, heart racing at the potential success ahead. Each ingredient seemed magical, sparking visions of how their community would embrace their treats. At the bakery, the atmosphere buzzed with adrenaline. The scent of yeast and sugar wrapped around her, blending with laughter and chatter as volunteers flocked in. Emily beamed with pride as she glanced at the group. They supported one another, creating a small army of hopeful hearts and hungry stomachs. "Let us get these ovens fired up," Billy yelled, clapping his hands. As the first batch of cookies baked, the familiar warmth enveloped her. They poured their souls into the dough, and with every stir, doubts faded a little more. The seconds ticked down to the taste-testing moment like the anticipation of opening a present. "Okay, here goes," Billy announced dramatically, pulling the cookies from the oven. Emily's heart raced as they took their first bites. The moment felt monumental, a thrilling mix of flavors and hopes. "Not bad, but I think we can really step this up. Let us do a blind taste test," she said, grinning. As the afternoon melted away, they were engulfed in the frenzy, mixing, baking, tasting, perfecting. For the first time, Emily let herself believe in the dream. The laughter of their friends echoed around them, fueling her courage. Then a message buzzed on her phone. Another notification from the influencer, this time alerting her they would be live streaming the challenge. Dread twisted in her gut. What if they didn't perform well? Just as she began to pull away, Billy placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Regardless of how it goes, we're doing this together. And we're showing your grandfather he's not alone. That's what matters." With those words, Emily felt a shift within, an understanding that the real victory was already unfolding before her. The kindness of their community grew under the light of shared dreams. But in the back of her mind, doubts lingered like shadows. What if their best efforts weren't enough? Would they have the courage to turn dreams into reality, no matter the outcome? As the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating their faces with warmth, Emily braced herself for what lay ahead. The challenge was about to begin, and so many lives hung in the balance. Would their baked goods shine, or would this journey test them more than they ever imagined? Emily stood in front of the bakery's cheerful exterior, a whirl of emotions tightening her chest. Today was the day. As the sunlight breached the horizon, she could feel both excitement and fear mingling in her heart. The live stream was only hours away, and everything they had worked for would be tested before a vast audience. She exchanged glances with Billy, who was meticulously dusting flour across the counter. Determination radiated from him, but she could see the subtle twitch of anxiety at the corners of his mouth. "Ready or not, here we come?" he asked, attempting to lighten the mood. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, feeling the weight of her words. Would it be enough? The kitchen hummed with energy as their friends filtered in, laughter filling the air. Each face carried hopes and dreams, some for the fundraiser, others for a taste of the delicious treats they were about to create. Emily could feel the warmth of community wrap around her like a comforting blanket, but the stakes still loomed large. As they prepped, she glanced at her phone. The livestream notification flashed again, and tightness gripped her chest. What if we mess up? A whisper escaped her lips before she could catch it. Billy, catching her eye, said, "Messes happen, Em. Remember why we started this. It was about family, love and a whole lot of hope." His words broke through her fog of anxiety. The oven hummed with excitement, and as they rolled out dough and shaped pastries, Emily found herself getting lost in the process. The scent of cinnamon wafted through the air, drawing smiles from her friends who knew what was coming. The countdown began, filling the room with an electric buzz. Just before they went live, Emily took a deep breath. She closed her eyes, remembering her grandfather's laugh, the stories he told them while they baked together in the kitchen. It felt like a lifetime ago, but each memory anchored her to why they were here. Then, it happened. The live stream lit up, and the bright camera turned toward them. Comments began flooding in cheers, encouragement, and well wishes. A swell of courage coursed through Emily as she took her position in front of the camera. "Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to share our baking journey and raise funds for a cause that's very close to our hearts." She felt a surge of energy and passion. This wasn't just about baking, it was about community, love, and making a difference. As they scrambled around the kitchen, creating sweet concoctions, the rapport between the participants was infectious. Emily couldn't help but smile. Here they were, creating an experience that mattered. They were pouring love into every cookie, every pie, hoping to feed the hearts of their viewers as well as their stomachs. Each time they presented a new creation, the comments grew louder, filled with enthusiasm and admiration. For the first time, Emily felt the weight lift, and the belief that they could win, that they could make a difference, settled deeply within her. But just as triumph began to seem tangible, a sudden power outage darkened the room. The lights flickered and the camera went dead. Silence loomed heavy, but it was quickly broken by gasps and murmurs. The connection to the audience disappeared, and as panic fluttered in her chest, Emily's heart raced. "Take a breath," Billy urged, squeezing her hand. "We'll figure this out." As they scrambled to restore power, anxiety gave way to a flicker of hope. Would they be able to shine again? Would their hard work prevail despite this setback? As they waited in darkness, Emily's spirit surged. She realized this wasn't just about victory or defeat. It was about resilience, the will to keep going, and the power of community around her. In that moment, she knew they would fight through it together. And just as they heard the distant hum of the electricity returning, a new message buzzed on Emily's phone. The influencer had just shared a sneak peek of their challenge to her millions of followers. What would that mean for their cause, for their dreams to save her grandfather? The lights flickered back on, illuminating their anxious faces. Emily was left with a heart full of determination, and her thoughts spun wildly, wondering how this twist would change everything. The bakery shimmered back to life, the buzz of energy returning as warmth filled the room once more. Emily took a moment to breathe deeply, letting the surrounding comfort seep back into her bones. The smell of baked goods was softer now, mingling perfectly with the sense of urgency that hung in the air. "Are we still live?" Billy's voice broke through, and Emily quickly checked her phone. "Yes. We're back," she exclaimed, relief flooding her. The chat exploded with encouragement and cheers from viewers. We love you. You've got this. Flew across the screen, lifting her spirits higher than ever before. Emily wiped her brow. Okay, let us bring the energy back. We can do this. For our families, for our town, and for my grandpa. She shouted, her heart racing with newfound resolve. And as their laughter flooded the kitchen again, she glanced at the screen, a wise smile forming on her lips. She never felt more determined to make every moment count. They resumed baking with fervor, the camaraderie blossoming into beautiful chaos. Each cupcake frosted, every pie filled with fruit became symbolic of their mission. The sound of spatulas on mixing bowls blended with chimes of notifications from the live stream, views kept climbing. More people were jumping aboard the wave of hope, and it felt exhilarating. As the baking frenzy continued, Emily spotted a message from the live stream chat, "We're donating." That simple statement sent a thrill through her. It wasn't just about baking anymore, they were building a foundation for something monumental. It was nearing the end of the challenge, the cakes were rising, and the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Emily reveled in the moment, but in the back of her mind hovered thoughts of her grandfather. The high costs of his treatment pressed on her heart like an anvil. Would there be enough? All right, folks. Time for the big moment. Billy called, obviously hyped. The tasting. Ready? With each baked good presented to the internet world, Emily couldn't help but feel a thrill. Customers from the city, families from other towns, everyone was watching. They sliced into cakes, handing out samples to friends while Emily narrated their significance, pouring her heart into each word. Join us. Help us support not just my grandfather but our whole community. She felt an undeniable surge. And comments rolled in like waves of support. Count us in. We want to help. As they neared the finale, the influencer provided a closing narration that tapped right into Emily's heart. Remember, folks, every bite counts. Bakes for community isn't just about cupcakes, it's about hope. Let us support one another. Then came the moment all had been waiting for, the announcement of the winner. As Emily clutched Billy's hand, a hush fell over the room. And the community favorite goes to Emily's Bakery and Bakes for Community. The cheers exploded from the crowd of friends surrounding her. Tears stung her eyes as the realization washed over her. She was more than just a girl trying to save her grandfather, they collectively were a force of love and unity. The chat flooded with applause. The beauty of it all, the connections forged, the community spirit ignited, was everything she had hoped for and more. In the following days, the donations poured in like never before. The bakery transformed into a beacon, funded by heart and community effort. Every penny mattered, bringing her grandfather a step closer to the treatment he urgently needed. On the day she finally received the news that they had raised enough to cover the costs, Emily felt euphoric. Instead of crying from relief, she laughed, an outburst of joy spilling from her soul. She raced home, bursting through the door to find her grandfather sipping tea in the center of their kitchen, that spark now full-blown in his eyes. "Grandpa! We did it!" she cried, running to him. He took her hands, a proud smile spreading across his face. "You made me proud, my little baker. You brought hope back to this town." They embraced, her heart swelling with love. She done it. They done it. Together, weaving resilience into a tapestry of community. And as they looked toward the future, Emily knew that what had started as a battle for one would forever change the hearts of many. Together, they could conquer any storm. With laughter echoing in their home, she realized they were all family now, stitched together by love, sacrifice, and unwavering hope. The journey that began in despair transmogrified into a resounding triumph. There would be more challenges ahead, but what Emily hadn't realized was they had found their strength in each other, an unstoppable force. Now it was time for a new beginning. If you felt this story touch your heart as deeply as it did mine, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next inspiring stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this journey. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending, I want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. They deserve to feel this hope.